It's this guy's birthday. It's time for some haggis. Great finds today. In honor of Robert Burns' birthday today, I've assembled some Scottish items, some war items, picture, medals. This we'll learn how to pronounce, and of course, some Robert Burns stuff. That's Robert Burns there. He was born in 1759. Now, if you don't know who he is, I'm sure you're familiar with one of his songs. Yes, that song, Old Lang Syne's credited to him. He was a poet, so this is the Selkirk Grace. So you would say this before eating. Now, if you've ever had Scottish cuisine, you probably should pray before eating it. Now, every year at this time, there is something called a Burns Supper. I have acquired a menu from the Burns Supper from 6 years ago. Unfortunately, the Burns Suppers are virtual this year, so you'll have to eat your haggis by yourself. Anyways, you do start out with a cock-a-leekie soup, which is chicken and leek soup, and then the haggis is piped in. It is a poem by Robert Burns. It is supposed to be said by heart, and it's a beautiful poem about the virtues of the haggis. And then, of course, you can have clapshot, which is turnips, and then the toast to, of course, the lassies and to the lads. And then, of course, some beverages, usually to wash down the haggis. But Robert Burns, very famous. Everyone's Irish on St. Patrick's Day, everyone's Scottish on Robert Burns' birthday. It's actually a really fun. He's a well-known poet. Steinbeck named his book of Mice and Men after a poem by this guy, which was called To a Mouse. Now, I have some other things here. This is a craic. That's what they call it. I probably didn't pronounce it as they would in Scotland. This is a drinking bowl. A drinking cup, they call it. This is what they would drink at. It's more of a ceremonial kind of item now, presentation, as you can see. But that's exactly what this is. So you could drink out of that and have a good old time in Scotland. It's a nice item. They were originally made out of wood, then they were made out of leather, and now they're kind of a pewter, silver type things. I have some historical pieces here from one gentleman, Scotsman, who earned these medals, both in the war, and these we'll talk about in a second. They are from the Royal Life-Saving Society. Now, these two medals here, these were given to whomever served during the Great War, which, of course, is World War I. This is a victory medal, the Great War for Civilization. That was given to anyone who served. Now, the Americans have a little bit different design on the front. Each country did a little different design, but all the medals have the same ribbon. This is the British version. This is the British War Medal, 14 to 18. That is King George V, who was king during that time. And these were also handed out to anyone who served in any of those units. Now, we do know who this person is. He's the gentleman standing there. We know that because it has his name here, Nielsen. And this picture was taken in Glasgow, which is in Scotland, of course. So this gentleman served. He was a private. We can see there he was a private. He was actually in a newly formed group called the Machine Gun Corps. Also the Machine Gun Cavalry, it was called. It didn't last that long, just World War I. And it later became the Tank Corps. That particular unit lost over 12,000 men in that war. There is a memorial in London that has been in there and actually has a picture, small statue of David, Michelangelo's David, and it's a story of David and Goliath. And if you ever get to London, it's an interesting monument to the gentleman who served in the Machine Gun Corps. It's no longer around. It's now the Tank Corps. But these medals, this gentleman here fought in that in the Great War. He also was a Royal Life Society. It looks like he was an instructor. He was an instructor here. And these are nice because these are actually laminated. They're good. It looks like he won a race. He won a race at one time. These two medals were actually earned medals from the Royal Life Saving Society. If you wanted to be a lifeguard, if you wanted to have, you had to get certified. One is smaller than the other, but they are the same. They say who they're awarded to. So you must have had to earn these, not just a one and done. Kind of something. It looks like Mr. Nielsen was also an instructor with that society. And you can see his name there, awarded to. You can see they're saving someone there in the water, the Life Saving Society. What did start in 1891. On the back here, if you can read this, quem cunque miserum videris hominem scius, which I'm sure is just dead on Latin because it sounded Latin. But actually that's translated into whosoever you see in distress, recognize him as a fellow man. So that's kind of a neat little medal that was awarded to this gentleman. Not only was he a veteran, but also life-saving member. One of those things had anything to do with him. So without this small country, without these heroes that fought, these writers, you'd be amazed how much came out of that little tiny country. This is Greyfriars Bobby. This is a dog. He slept on his master's grave. He was kicked out of the churchyard, which is Greyfriars Churchyard. Many, many times he eventually became a folk hero. If you go there today in Edinburgh, you can go to Greyfriars Churchyard and you can see a statue of this dog outside. And you go inside. That was the inspiration for J.K. Rowling's Hogwarts. No Scotland, no Harry Potter. Also, no first James Bond, Sean Connery. No Rod Stewart. What would the world be without Rod Stewart? Arthur Conan Doyle. No Sherlock Holmes. Robert Louis Stevenson. No Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Do you know who else was born in Scotland? Alexander Graham Bell. No telephone. No U.S. Steel. Andrew Carnegie. He kind of came over. Alexander Fleming. No penicillin. William Wallace. Braveheart. Great movie. Shows. And now Mel Gibson. Not Scottish. Adam Smith. The father of modern economics. John Knox. Presbyterianism. And James Chalmers. I know you probably don't know that name. James Chalmers. He invented the adhesive postage stamp. Just think how horrible our lives would be without the great people, the great poets, writers, and inventors of Scotland. Great finds today. Happy birthday. If it's your birthday, share a great birthday. If you like, subscribe. If I got something wrong, go ahead and comment. But thanks for watching today. I hope everyone's doing well.